Welcome back to another exciting episode of Aaron's Opinion, the podcast for blind people where we talk about critical issues in the blindness community. I'm Aaron Richmond. Tonight, like all other episodes, is copywritten by me, Aaron Richmond, and Aaron's Opinion. Thank you. Aaron's Opinion 6 at gmail.com, 1240-681-9869 for all those text messages and nasty voicemails. We love them over here. We sure do. All right, follow on Facebook, Twitter, even comment below on YouTube if you want. We're joined by someone who has been with us here at Aaron's Opinion. A great friend to all. It's his third appearance on the podcast, or according to him. So we'll just take his word for it. His third appearance at Aaron's Opinion, Michael Munn from Michael's Weekly Perspective podcast. First question, Michael, we got to help you out with your birthday fundraiser, man. He's doing a fundraiser for NVDA. Listeners might want to know, or if sighted people are watching, what is NVDA? Go for it. Let's start from there and work out from there.
All right. Thank you, Aaron,
My
for
pleasure.
inviting me to this great video or audio show.
And you are welcome. If you want, you can turn on your video if you can easily and want, but it's not critical. But yes, you are welcome.
I really appreciate it. So yes, to answer your question, NVDA stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access. It is a screen reader for Microsoft Windows that, free of charge, it enable a blind person to have access to computers like their sighted counterparts.
Okay. Now, are you a user of NVDA?
Oh yes, I use NVDA as a backup, but my main screen reader is the other screen reader called JAWS. But sometimes I do, start the screen reader just to give it a play to see what kind of feature they integrated that JAWS doesn't have.
Okay, so what can you tell the listener about NVDA from when you're using it from your perspective as the user?
It is very responsive, and as a free screen reader, it has all the features that some commercial screen reader have. So you get a lot of features that you will get from a commercial screen reader.
So basically, with NVDA, are you able to do anything and everything that you would with JAWS if you were a JAWS user?
Oh yes, such as you can like browsing the web and read emails and stuff like that.
Okay. And can you easily respond to emails with NVDA?
Oh, sure you can. Yeah. It's
Okay. Well,
very
good.
responsive.
Good. So why did you create a birthday fundraiser? It's important for you to say what the reason is. Why did you create a fundraiser for NVDA?
See, I have this conscience in me that for my birthday, every year, I gotta do something. I gotta do something good to start my birth year, or year, the date of my of birth. So let me tell you this: that last year I did a fundraiser for Tech Vision, which helps blind people or people like me to learn computers. And this year, I thought I might do something like that again because, it's my conscience that's telling me that I need to do something nice to start to start May, or to start another time or year that I turn to start my new age, So here I went, created a birthday fundraiser because, I believe everybody, not just me, deserve the right to have access to computers and communicate with their sighted friends or with their friends across the globe. Especially nowadays, technology plays an important part in people's life. And if you don't have a screen reader, for blind people, especially students, adults, if you especially when you're blind, you cannot use a computer. And some screen readers like JAWS right now in the market cost like $1,200, and we can't afford it without really people paying for it. So that's why I started the fundraiser. And last thing that I'm going to say is NVDA was created by two blind pioneers who were also tired of the maintenance, the upgrade price for JAWS. So they had an ambition and created NVDA. And of course, NVDA was coded using Python. That's the story of NVDA and my motivation behind creating a birthday fundraiser.
So click the link in the description so we can help Michael and help NVDA. Or else if we don't help out there in the audience, then NVDA might have to start, asking for charges. It might start costing money. So to keep NVDA free, they need some help from the audience. And I think I will be interested to know how many of you out there help. I think we can get a couple people out there to help, really. All right. So, Michael, what else has been going on with Michael's Weekly Perspective? What else has been going on at the Georgia Academy for the Blind? What else have you been up to these days?
Oh, that's a great question, Aaron. So right now, I am on the final stretch of my spring semester, as you would say when you're running track. So I'm on the final stretch. So there, for me, it's only like a matter of 200 meters till the end. So we have like 2 weeks until the end of our school, and then for me, I just turned to another age of my life. Last week, I turned 21 years old. it can I can't believe it, but it is real. So, and then during the month of March and April, I have been doing a lot of equipment upgrading, which means I have been upgrading my podcasting gears from head to toe. Hmm.
Well, let's go over that from head to toe. So, what podcast gear have you been upgrading? Because as you guys can see at home, I just throw a microphone over my head and push play and hope for luck. I don't make any, and I'm not afraid to say it. I don't make any effort to have advanced equipment when I don't need it. So, what are some equipment that you have really invested in lately? What do you think?
Oh, for my birthday this year, I actually got a stationary condenser mic called the Toner TC20, which I'm currently learning how to use. And
And for
last,
those now, okay, cool. Yeah, let's get into a technology conversation. So, for those of you at home are wondering what a condenser mic is. So, Michael, what is a condenser mic? Please explain it for any listeners out there who are a little confused.
okay, a condenser mic. Oh my gosh, as of right now, I'm still figuring out the concept. So to make it easy, that condenser mic does not. It's like to me, it's sensitive to noise. So it requires. So yeah, a condenser mic for me is, in my definition, is sensitive to noise, and you have to be very careful using it, or else it's going to be a disaster.
In other words, are you saying that the microphone picks up more sounds around you or less sounds around you?
It pick up like more sounds around you.
Huh. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, see, and this is interesting. Then that probably would not be an appropriate microphone for me because I'm at home with my family and there's other noises around the house, so that probably wouldn't be a good one for me. But that's interesting. So how is it configured? How does it work? Um,
So I just got it, and as of right now, I'm still trying to figure out how to get the sound out of it. And that microphone uses a plug called XLR, which is external line output. So it's very as right now I'm still learning the concept, so I cannot really tell you more about it.
I see. Now, does this microphone go, does it plug into your computer? Does it plug into your phone? All of the above? Like, how big is it? Like,
Oh, that microphone is huge. It's like uh, it's about the size of a small water bottle, and it requires a clamp to hold it in place. And it's a desktop mic, condenser mic, so it clips onto a desktop.
I see. So it just sort of clips onto the edge of your
Yeah.
desktop, and then you sit up kind of in the middle behind your desk, and then you just speak sort of towards it, and then it would pick up your voice, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. You have to. It's like adjustable, and if you want to use it, you just stand it up and hold it, and then push it down and pull it towards you. And if you don't want to, if you're not using it, you just put it, push it back and put it down.
I
And
see.
yeah,
And then is there like an on-off switch? Because you have to be really careful about microphones accidentally being on when you don't want them to be, right? So does it have is it easy to tell when it's on and off and all of that?
that I'm still figuring out since it's a new gear in the studio. So I'm still really trying to get something out of it. To get the best out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see. Good, good. And now why did you choose this particular microphone for yourself?
See, I have been, a lot of people actually told me that sometimes you just need more than one kind of everything. So I learned that lesson. Sometimes people say, for example, when I learned Braille, and they told me that beside learning how to use slate and stylus, you need to have you need to learn how to use a Perkins as well as a Braille display. So this way, you can your life can be easier. And it's the same thing as having different kinds of microphone. Sometimes, you know, uh, it's just easier to have different kinds of microphone for different occasions.
And what occasion would you use this new microphone that you have now?
Oh, it's mainly for like when I'm at home and I don't need that doesn't require me to pull up a smaller mic, even because I am using a stationary mic. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's all about making life easier.
Okay, cool, cool. And and I'm guessing since you brought it up, I'm guessing that you have some sort of a promo code for our listeners, maybe even for me for this microphone.
Oh, yeah, it is a great mic on the like outside, but I'm still trying to get the inner part out. Trying to learn the interior, like how good does it produce. So this mic that I got is called Toner, Tonor, TC, which is stand for toner cardioid uh, condenser mic, and it's uh, the number is 20, Toner TC20.
So it's a toner TC20.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, and what do you know about the company Toner? What do you know about that brand?
Oh, actually, all of the other person who reviewed it said that Toner actually produced very good audio equipment. So that's all I know.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will certainly check that out. Yeah, at some point I was thinking about getting a microphone. Um, but I think that this one I have here is okay. It gets me where I need to be. It's a pretty good sound. Could be better, could be worse, but it's pretty good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh
Uh,
yes,
it
definitely.
sounds it sounds pretty clear. Usually headsets are not this clear, but this headset is used a lot in radio too. So this is a pretty common headset that you might see. Of course, you watching there on YouTube would think that it's a gaming headset, which it is, but this is used over radio. But on our WhatsApp group, on our secret WhatsApp group, yeah, Michael, I think you should ask everybody else in the group what they think, and show them what you got, and maybe have a picture of it, and ask for some opinions. There are people in our WhatsApp community, for Aaron's opinion, that are far more knowledgeable about microphones than I, and would be able to definitely give you some pointers, for sure. So definitely don't hesitate to come over to the group and tell us about it, even though it's been very quiet over there. But yeah, all right, all right.
Oh
And
yes.
and okay, now seriously, now if you are able to get some, maybe get some sort of a promo code at some point, if you're able to get a promo code for that particular microphone, let me know, because I'm secretly in the market at some point in my life for a microphone. Now, of course, I'm doing a lot of different types of things, so not right now, but of course, keep me in the know for that. Now, the podcast side, how have things been going on the on the podcast front itself with your uploads and your episodes?
Oh, so far so good. I actually took at least 3 month break because of family issues, and plus,
Indeed,
yeah, my studio had some problem since it's in the basement,
you told me.
and yeah, I have to, you know, our family constantly have to battle with income flood. Yeah, incoming flood.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I stopped produce podcast for 3 months.
And that is fine. I too have been overly busy, and although listeners don't really notice, it's not as noticeable for the listener because you only listen when we upload. So it's not, although we haven't been doing as much podcasting ourselves, it's not as noticeable if you're the listener, because if they don't upload, you just kind of forget about it until they do. So it's not as big of a deal for the listener, for the audience, as it is for us, really. Yes, that is understandable. So, of course, I'm sure you wouldn't want to spill the beans and tell me, but so who are some of your dream guests that you're working on getting on the show?
Oh, that I really would like to have for my podcast
Mm-hmm.
are the top three people. They are, of course, Jonathan Mosen, the one down in New
Mm-hmm.
Zealand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you listen to this podcast called Eyes on Success, I would like to have them, Peter and Nancy
Yes.
Torpy.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Yeah, I would like to have them on my podcast.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
And that is down the road when I really
And
started
then
to.
those three, boy, oh boy, those three. You know what? Those three together on one episode would be incredible. That would be an amazing recording, all at once. That would be a little difficult to arrange, but that would be very interesting.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. At least for Jonathan, it's hard to arrange because he's like, I believe right now it's 13 hours ahead of us. But for Nancy and Peter, it's easier because they also live in the Eastern Daylight Time territory of the United States.
I see, I see. And your third guest. So we have Mosen, as you said, then the Torpies, um, and then the third podcast you would like to have on.
Oh, the third guest, you know, that I would like. Uh,
Mhm.
this actually, the third guest that I really would like is, you know, I've been thinking about it for a long time, but now I have my answer, and that will be this person from I forgot where is he from, but this one Gasman boy from Fullerton, California, John and Larry Gasman, and yeah.
Now that episode, that podcast, I'm not familiar with. Which one is that?
Oh, they don't produce podcasts. They work at ACB Radio, and
Ah,
yeah.
ah. Well, you could on the Facebook group for them, ACB Community, on Facebook. You could post and see if you can get them to answer that way, just through posting on the group like that. That would be a very good way, I think, for them if they're in that group for ACB. I agree. I agreed with your first two answers. I would, for the record, let me go on the record and say that I absolutely, completely admire and just love listening to Jonathan Mosen and uh, Peter and Nancy Torpy. I've listened to both of their podcasts. Both are amazing podcasts. I love them both. They're great. I would love to have either or all of those people on. I'm interested though. For the third one, I thought you would say someone else. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm going to try. There's a couple people. It's a couple people I have just up my sleeve that at some point, when I get through all my guests, that I'm going to start to try to reach out to. But I've got a couple interesting characters that would really make this podcast just keep getting better and better for people and for the listener and all of that. Well, Michael from Michael's Weekly Perspective, I say this a lot. I really mean it, man. Uh, if you can get if you can do anything to tell Jonathan Mosen about Aaron's opinion, Aaron's opinion would be delighted to speak to him, and I would be delighted to have him on. If you can maybe, I don't know, if you can maybe arrange that for me. Say, actually, it's kind of a good thing since you're in my WhatsApp group. I can kind of give little assignments from now and again. Yeah, let's get Michael Munn out there on the trail. Let's see if we can get you to arrange Jonathan Mosen to come on to Aaron's opinion. It's a little that's kind of a high order. That's a little complicated, but I mean it, man. I would love it. I would love to have the honor to speak to him. I really would. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he will be a great person to really talk to because especially he himself have a lot to say in regard to podcasting because
In
he.
regards to the reason why he's an excellent guest is because he has a lot of great things to say about everything.
Oh
That's
yeah,
his value. Yes.
yeah, he's been working at least in radio industry since he was 4 years old. Can't you believe it?
You're right. I have to admit, I think you listen to his content a lot more than I do. I mean, I do listen to the majority of his podcasts. I don't listen to the radio show, but I do follow along on iTunes, and I follow a lot of what he says. I certainly do not agree with 100% of it, but I always enjoy listening to him. He does a really nice job, and things like that. So yeah, I agree. Those two, the three of those people would be excellent guests in our community here at Aaron's Opinion. And you're more than welcome to tell the Torpies about Aaron's Opinion too, because I have reached out to these people, but because these people are busy like we are, it's hard for to get back to everybody. So maybe, guys, maybe from Michael's Weekly Perspective, maybe if you kind of add it in and say, hey, Aaron Richmond, Aaron's Opinion would love to have you on. I think that does help, and I think I would really appreciate that contact. But yeah, yeah, there's a lot of really interesting people in the industry that are really producing really high quality episodes, and I appreciate listening to podcasts just as much as I enjoy producing them for you. So What else has been going on um, at um, at the Georgia Academy for the Blind? Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I forgot to say that I had moved from I moved back to campus from an online student since February 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, last year, like I recorded an episode about what is what is it like to live in the cottage in the Georgia Academy for the Blind.
Oh, you
And
did?
yeah,
Oh, I wonder. I wonder. To be frank with you, I wonder if I listened to that. Was that
oh,
on Michael's Weekly Perspective, or I forgot if I listened to it or not.
that's
Why don't you help me and remind me, Michael? What is it like to live at the cottage at Georgia Academy for the Blind?
see when I first went there, they
Mm-hmm.
placed me in a cottage full of uh, full of boys who are in high school. So the cottage the the cottage is a mix of is a mix of an actual house and and a freshman dorm.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you get the structure from from a house, but you also get the feel of college dorm. So
Mm-hmm.
the dining room and living room are set up like a are set up like a house, and the bedrooms are set up like a college dorm. So you have two beds and two desks, and along with two closets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the that's what it's like in Georgia Academy for the Blind. The cottage. That's what the cottage is like.
Mm.
Yeah, and this year when I returned to the campus for the second time, they actually placed me with two transition students who was about to graduate. So we, of course, for this school year, they are placing everybody into individual rooms because of CDC guidelines. So yeah, so we each have a room to ourselves.
Right. Well, good. Good. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. When I was in university, I always had a single room to myself. Of course, I had a dog. I had a guide dog then, so I really needed to have a single room. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is a good thing it's good to have a single room. So this way you can do everything in your own pace.
yeah, yeah, and so that you have some privacy. I think privacy is very important. Hmm.
Yeah. And one downfall about the dorms or cottages within GAB is that the doors doesn't have a lock. So if a if if the residential assistants want to go into uh, a person's room, they can easily pull down uh, the door handle and push the door opens.
Hmm. I can understand why that would make you a little nervous, but I can also understand why that would be there.
Oh yes,
Right.
definitely, definitely.
The concern is in the event of a urgent situation, they would want to be able to safely get everyone out,
For
and
sure, definitely.
they don't want someone to accidentally panic and somehow lock themselves into the room. It seems silly, it seems like a frivolous thing, it seems like a very silly thing to say, but people have, passed away in those types of urgent situations, simply from accidentally locking themselves in a room. It is possible. So, and then you panic and then they can't get you out. So that's why that's there. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah.
Right. But I can understand that's a little unsettling. But you've also told me that it seems like the staff at GAB does a really good job, right?
Oh yes, yeah. So basically, every night at 10 o'clock or whenever the night staff comes in, they will go by each room and basically check on you, and then after that, they're done, and no one actually disturb you for 8 hours.
I see. And by check on you, what would they do? Would they come up? Would they just sort of poke their head like into the door just a little bit and say, "Hey, Michael, are you okay? Like, do you need anything?" And then they just keep walking, or what do you mean by check on you?
Oh, they open your door and talk with you for a minute or two,
Mm-hmm.
basically catching up with you, and then they ask, "Are you okay?" If you're okay, then they just leave you alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then if you weren't okay though, do you think they would help you or
Oh, they will ask, "What's wrong?" And if you tell them, they can help you out,
mm-hmm.
or they can't.
I see. I see. Have you ever experienced some sort of a situation where someone needed help at a strange time, like in the middle of the night? Was there ever an incident, I guess? Mm-hmm.
So far, everything has been peaceful in the dorms since.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I only live with two of the transition boys, two of the transition students,
Mm-hmm.
and they're all easy to work with, and they don't have any problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, good. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. All right. So, what are your, plans for next year?
Oh, next year I will be graduating from GAB.
Mm-hmm.
My original plan has been changed uh, for a lot because I saw something beneficial and I changed my plan. So I'm going to finish high school and then go to Minnesota to get some 9 month training to get some training for 9 months within
Mm-hmm.
blind ink.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then after that, if I'm well behaved and blind ink do what I'm supposed to do, they will basically I can go to Minnesota universities, the University of Minnesota for free. Can you believe that? The thing is that I have to work for 9 months or go to school in Minnesota and then work as a part-time worker
Mm-hmm.
for a year within Minnesota in order to grant residency.
Hmm.
Yeah.
E- Excellent. Excellent. Okay. So, I know we've talked about it before on the podcast, but what are you planning on studying in the University of Minnesota?
Oh, I plan to double major in both political science and history, U.S. history.
Okay. Now, why would you need both political science and history?
Oh, because my goal after college is to go to law school and get a
Mm-hmm.
law degree. And I think that history and poli sci are a essential concept
Mm-hmm.
before law school.
Right. Right. That is true. And what kind of work would you like to do as a lawyer?
I would like to be a civil rights attorney because in our country so far, there has been a lot of denial from schools who refuse to take students, especially blind students, and
Okay.
they would either put them in a classroom with students who have multiple disabilities, even though they're smart, or they just
Right. Right. Let's clarify though. Okay. If you have multiple disabilities, you can still have a very high intelligence level.
Oh yes, yeah. So those teachers will basically make the academic, very easy. Like they would uh, ignore the standard and
Mm-hmm.
do their own pace.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes this can be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Now, to clarify something you said you want to be a civil rights lawyer. Well, you do want to be a civil rights lawyer. That's good, that's fine. But what you were just talking about was actually special education, where school systems are not giving services to blind students, right? Or not accepting blind students. That's the type of lawyer you want to be, right? To defend a blind student's right to equal access of education, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay,
That's too.
that's
Yeah.
that would be, just to clarify for the listener, that would be special education law. Civil rights is very similar. It would be about groups of people who are needing certain civil protections based upon, it could be, many things from ethnicity to, race to religion to sexual orientation to work to jobs. It could be, civil rights is kind of a broad thing. But what you want to do is specifically helping blind students. So that would be special education law,
Oh
or
yes.
in the field directly helping blind students. Yes. Now, of course, if you want to branch out and do other things from there, you can.
Oh yes,
Usually,
for sure.
usually lawyers specialize in one or maybe two areas of law. So you might do mostly special education with maybe some employment law, some civil rights law sprinkled in, but mostly you would want to do special education. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that is all really good. So, as far as a state goes, how do you think, overall, how do you find the services in the state of Georgia for blind people?
Oh, that's a little complicated because you know they didn't serve me well, and it is time for me to basically pass on instead of really saying negative about it.
Right, right. Okay, that is fair. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, right. Mm-hmm. Um, and things like that. So that is good. What are some other topics you want to talk about? What are some other things you want to get into?
Oh, some other things.
Mm-hmm.
There has been a lot of things that I really want to.
Well, tell
There have
me.
been, for example, really. So I would really want to get some work experience this summer. So this way I can add something to my resume.
Okay. So what are your options, and what would you like to do?
Oh, what I really like to do is to basically be a trainer on with to teach students how to use screen readers on their computer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, such as JAWS and NVDA and stuff like
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, I think that can easily be done, both primarily in person and occasionally, in some circumstances, online through online forums. Hmm.
Oh yes, yes, definitely.
Definitely. So good. And what did you do? Let's see. Okay. So you want some work experience? Good. And what else?
Other than that, that's basically about it because I'm still a student and my primary job is to basically get my schoolwork, uh, you know, in place.
Right, right. Well, that is true. Your job right now is to study and to do the best you can. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, good. What are some other questions that you have for Aaron's opinion?
Oh, that's a good question. Some questions that I may have for Aaron's opinion is basically, I know for the past month or so that I've been hearing the podcast, and how did you manage to publish your podcast through Anchor and also on YouTube with the same
I
content?
I did it myself. See, I took the video file and uploaded it manually to YouTube. And then I took the audio and put the audio into Anchor. And then I put the Anchor files, I put the Anchor links in the comments of the YouTube videos. So with every video on the channel for this one, you can either watch on YouTube or go to the comments and open the Anchor link for the audio. And I've noticed that
Oh,
when doing that over a period of time, you do build up listeners and you do build up traction over a period of time doing that.
oh
Yeah.
yes, for sure, definitely.
Yeah.
So, how do you do this? You use your mobile device or you have a computer?
My smartphone is perfect for taking the file, putting it onto YouTube, taking the file, putting it into Anchor.
Great. So I would assume that you have a Zoom professional license.
I do not.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
You need very little to podcast. You need very little things.
Nice. Nice.
Yes. But yeah, we're reaching people all over the world. We're reaching people in countries that I don't actually know people in. And then other times I'm reaching people in countries where I think I know who the people might be. But other times we're reaching people in countries that I don't know anyone in. So thank you for listening. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, with a little bit of equipment, we can really get people out. Basically, we can basically uh, connect with people that we have no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. hmm
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what have you found to be some of your countries where you're getting listeners from? And any surprising countries that you wouldn't expect to have a listener in, or what have you found to be your your audience?
See, most of my listeners are now in United States, but I'm surprised to see some in Singapore and some in Jamaica.
Huh. Well, gee, I wonder who that person in Jamaica is. Wonder who those people. See, those are the people that we know. Some of those people are the people we know in Jamaica. Other times they are not. Other times the audio files and the material of the podcast simply sneaks around social media, either on purpose or accidentally by people sharing posts, by moving posts moving throughout the system. Eventually, it gets from country to country. It takes a while, but it does get from point A to B for sure.
Oh yeah, especially nowadays, internet is democratized.
Yeah, well, I wanted that's a very good question that has just popped up in my mind. So, listeners, you guys know from our great friend here, Michael Munn. Michael, of course, as you know, grew up in China, a country that I'm not afraid to say has the reputation of basically creating a technical firewall with everything. So now that and I know I've talked about it before with you, but now that you've been living in the States for a while, with every passing year, like do Chinese people, and what I mean by Chinese in this word in this case is people from who grew up in who were born in China basically and grew up there for a few years. Do you think it's unusual how democratizing the internet is, or do you honestly think that that's how democratizing the internet should be? And oh goodness, I have to go in just a minute, but I guess I guess since I asked that question, you should answer because that's a very interesting topic to end an episode on. What do you think about that?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe how people talk on internet nowadays,
Right.
especially for those of you living in the the Atlantic side of the world and part of the Pacific and Indian Ocean side, like India especially.
Hmm.
And it is impossible for us people from China or live in China to talk that explicit. If you comment on a political figure in China, more than likely the police will knock on your door. But if you talk about a political figure, you know, in the United States or in the other side of the world that's
Yeah.
not uh, covered in red, I mean, communist,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
you are free and no one will
For
basically
for
tap on
the
your door.
for the there are okay. Now it's important to note there are limitations about what we're allowed to say about politicians. It is possible to get in trouble because you said something about a politician. And you do need to remember that it is possible to get in trouble, but it's a lot harder in a free country. Definitely,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah,
But
yeah.
there are rules and there are limitations, and people have gotten in trouble. And if you say the wrong thing, police can show up and knock on your door, even in America. They can. It's a lot more difficult, but just in the back of your mind, remember that it is possible. Highly unlikely, but is possible. Anyway, Michael Munn from Michael's Weekly Perspective podcast. We're so glad to have you here on your third episode. As you say, could be the third. We're so glad to have you here, man, at Aaron's Opinion. I do need to get going. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode as you always do. Comment below, and if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. 1240-681-9869. Aaron's Opinion 6 at gmail.com. Michael's Weekly Perspective. Michael, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, and any other ways right now to get your that you get your podcast.
Okay. Excellent. Good to know. All right, everybody, stay safe out there around the world. I wish you the very best of health and the very best of luck. And I'm looking forward at some point to recording our fourth episode together. I know we'll do that. Until next time, everybody, stay safe. And as we like to say, stay safe and healthy, everybody. And as we say here at Aaron's Opinion, help one person today, help a million people tomorrow.